inside of it is like pink, so I'm going to be a little bit light on the water, or at least allow it to dry down pretty thoroughly.
Sticker and
Proof, it might
get the memory over there.
And then just shave everything to it. I would recommend doing more with this one. There you go. Should be a little easier.
So we are being taught by Dr. Terry Buffington of the Terry Buffington Foundation, and so she's a cultural anthropologist who lived through segregation in the South, and she thought it was important that we go to Pullman businesses that are run by BIPOC community members, as well as gay and LGBTQ people in the community, because there are really that many here in Pullman. And so we were really interested in your business because not only that, but because Brad has always honestly told me how amazing of a job that you do here, and also how you kind of reach out to the community and you do like events. Sorry, you do events for the university, and so I thought that was really cool. And so we just have a few prepared questions to kind of feature your business. So firstly, how do you identify yourself culturally and personally?
Yeah, well, first of all, I think that your professor's right. I agree that there's not a lot of like BIPOC people, especially like out and loud, like LGBTQ people as well. And so for me, I do identify myself as gay, a gay man of color. And I guess I feel like I've thought about that a lot like recently, and I'm like, I guess like here in the Inland Northwest, I'm like a person of color, but I think what's odd is that like when I fill out like forms and stuff like that, I'm considered white, and so it's weird to kind of reckon with that, I guess, but I'm Hispanic, and so I think my Hispanic heritage is not nearly as like much, like it doesn't come out as much as my as just being gay, because I wasn't really as connected to that as a kid or growing up, but I definitely am gay. And I make sure that like my business is something that like represents that, it represents me, so yeah.
Absolutely. And also, what brings you and your business to Pullman and this area?
So I actually followed somebody from Los Angeles to Spokane, and then we lived there for a few years, and they wanted to go to school at WSU, and I followed them down here. At the time when we moved, we didn't have the money to afford Pullman, and so we started looking outside of Pullman and ended up in Colfax. And so I actually have a house in Colfax where I was able to buy, and then at the end of 2022, I decided that after having the business for 4 years in Colfax, I didn't think that it would be sustainable for another, I'm just watching the industry change, the world is changing, and I thought, it's a miracle that we lasted this long in a tiny town of 2,000 people, but I think I need more access to people, and so so I moved the business down to Pullman. So that's why I'm here.
And you have multiple stores in the area.
Well, I have a store in Spokane, which I started at the end of 2021. And so my goal has been to kind of take over the Inland Northwest and then slowly take over the world. But it's just been really hard. I don't have the capacity so I'm not sure. I'm like on the verge of maybe closing that. And honestly, the business has been so tough that I'm on the verge of making a decision to close just the business in general and move on. But we're like one day at a time. That's just a thought in my head right now. So.
And do you feel that the construction in downtown has impacted that at all?
Oh, 100%. Yeah. The construction in downtown was like a nail in the coffin. It felt like it was the final thing that was going to put me in the ground. I was kind of like at the point where, I had one thing after another happen with the business, and then the construction, and it was like, okay, this is some sick joke.
Absolutely.
But yeah, that one hurt.
Okay, and
not that I don't think that it was necessary.
Absolutely.
I just think that the businesses, like small businesses, are the collateral damage of something that the community needs, and it's sad that small business bears the brunt and has to carry the weight of something like that,
Yeah.
when we have big corporations like Walmart who should be, supporting. I think not to like throw them under the bus, but yeah.
And how would you say that your relationship with the university has supported or hindered your business?
I would say that my relationship with the university is not that I have taught, like, I don't know. I don't feel like I have a direct connection to the university itself.
Yes.
What I have is ties to people that work within the university that are part of my community. And so people that support LGBTQ, and they're trying to get the word out, or be able to create a safe space for other people like that.
Absolutely.
I've had small groups of people that don't always have a lot of funding that try to get my business involved because they love shopping here.
Yeah.
I've also had, a lot of times we have a lot of grad students from the vet school that like to come in. I guess they're considered grad students, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we have a lot of vet students and those ones that are pursuing higher education, and they utilize the resources that are at their fingertips to get my business involved. So they know how important it is to support, and I think that's really valuable. I think it's most of the people that I have ties to the university they're like a direct connection. It's not just like the university reaching out and being like, hey, how can we support you? So, yeah.
And how would you say your clientele is? Are they mostly students, or would it be mostly people from the community who live here?
I would say, yeah, it's mostly people that have jobs. Plants, while that they're beautiful and fun, are not necessarily something that you need. I would argue that plants are really valuable for our mental health, but it's mostly, I want to say, people that have jobs and have stability, some sense of stability, that are able to afford something extra.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So.
And kind of just to finish it off,
yeah.
How would you say that you found a passion for plants, and how did you get into this business overall?
Yeah, so I actually was working at a job in tech support, and so I was doing tech support, and I did that for about 5 years. And for the first few years I loved it, and then it started to chip away at my sanity. There was a lot of monotony and repetition, and that is not something that I do really well with. I think that it kind of was slowly stealing from my soul, and I tried asking or telling the people around me I need support, I can't do this anymore. I couldn't get out of it, and I finally just had a breakdown on the job, and was able to, luckily enough, get out of that position long enough through an FMLA, leave of absence, which is the Family Medical Leave Act, and that allowed me to be on an eat, pray, love journey. And that time I discovered I think I want to be an entrepreneur. I want to try it out. But I had been collecting plants for a long time, years before that. And so in my house I had a room that was full of plants. I had tarps on the walls and humidifiers and grow lights, and I worked from home, and so I would get on my break and just go sit in my plant room for a little while, and I always felt like it was therapeutic. And so when I came up with the idea to start the business, it was really more around selfishly for me. I thought what if I move my plant room into commercial suite somewhere in downtown, and what I'll do is I'll just have really humid, really warm, I'll just drink champagne and do art all day and just be with my plants. And I thought that would be really nice. And when I started it, I really didn't do enough market research to understand there was a need or anything. I didn't think people were interested in plants, because I would have people come over to my house and be like, oh my gosh, there's a lot of plants in here. And I was like, thanks. And they'd be like, that's not really a compliment, you're crazy. And so when I started it, it was just a surprise that I really quickly was able to get all the money that I put into it back, and then some. And I was like, I guess I'll quit my job and do this full time. And so I think that there's this reality that you face when you do something that you love. And so I would say I won the battle, right? But now I'm in this war against something that I really do have a passion for, but now is my livelihood. And so plants are no longer I don't think they're anymore, they don't represent this therapeutic aspect of my life. Sometimes they can be a lot more stressful. And when I meet people that have 100 plants, I'm kind of like, oh, how are you? Like, how's your mental health? But I will say that, like, after a few years, I've been doing this now for 5 years, and I had no understanding of what entrepreneurship was before I started this. I just kind of jumped into it, and I think that it like awoke a part of my soul that I didn't know was there. And so I do really love being presented with the problems that I have every day, and I think that they're problems that I can solve versus like in a job like I was in previously, some of the problems that I was presented with, for example, not being able to take time off because I didn't have PTO, but I didn't have the capacity to work either. And so it's like, I'm an adult, I should be able to take time off when I need it, whether I'm paid or not. And now, if I really need a day off, like, I'm the one that makes that decision, right? Be it damned my income, but at the same time, it's kind of like, there's problems that are different that I can solve now. So yeah, it's kind of how I started. That's how I got involved with plants and how it affects my life and stuff. So,
absolutely.
yeah.
Okay, well, it's been amazing talking to you.
Of
That
course.
was a really beautiful anecdote about how you managed to get yourself out of the monotony of your previous job and you said IT.
Yeah, in tech support.
Yeah, complete 180.
I know.
into
Yeah, it's
running
sad.
a plant business.
Yeah, I have a lot of friends who work in jobs that they don't like. I mean, I see it all the time. People come in and they tell me, like, you must love this. And I'm just like, I mean, like, it's fun. Like, I enjoy my job, but, like, tell me more about what you're, like, where are you at? And oftentimes people are like, oh, I just hate my job. And I'm like, it sucks that we're in this place where a lot of us are so unhappy and we feel like we can't move on. So I'm like, yeah. So I try to continue to create that, like, space that feels really magical and, like, peaceful and therapeutic.
And it is really beautiful.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate it.
Okay.
Can use some of the mud that's on the bottom of it to kind of create like a cone sometimes to then poke inside of your soil, but you don't actually need to poke anything in the soil because it doesn't have roots. So I just want to show you guys as an example. Like, I could even go further and chop that off too. You guys have tools like scissors. Be careful because these are super sharp, of course, but I'm gonna like trim that off a little bit more just to kind of show you guys like how clean I can make it, and then I could just set that on top of the soil.
Wow.
This is a cluster, of course, so I could kind of treat it like a little plant, like a little micro plant, or a tree or something. But when you guys are using your tools, if you have different tools, these ones are probably going to be the most helpful because they are the longer ones. This one also acts as kind of a shovel, so you can move stuff around. This one right here is nice because you can actually, if you do have like a nice muddy like cone, you could poke it in and use it like that to poke in there. Anytime you poke something in the soil though, it's going to try to come right back out with you. So you kind of have to sometimes use two different tools to hold it down and pull it out at the same time. But I just want to show you kind of like what I'm going to be doing. I might clean this up and maybe take some of this brown stuff out because I don't want it. And again, the dead stuff, we'll just leave it over off to the side. But if you don't mind, I'm just going to set this in. Try to imagine like a tiny little, like a forest or like a jungle scene, and then miniaturize it. That's what it's going to be like. So I usually like to start by putting one or two things inside of it and then building from there. And so I'm just gonna take it, I'll set it right in like that,
Right there.
and then stop. It's up to you. You can always move it, but yes. And so that's kind of how it
Just set
starts.
it right
Okay,
down in there.
just set it down. Okay.